so supple, that's what surprises. In this video, I'm gate crashing a Fiat X19 Owners Club meet in my Citroen 2CV. But we're here to look at the Fiats rather than my tin snail. So I thought, well, while they're having a meet and having a lovely time here in the Ellen Valley in Move, Wales, I'm going to talk a bit about their cars. So this is one of the earliest cars here. It's probably the ideal starting point, really. This one dates from 77 or 78. The Fiat X19 was a design concept by Marcello Gandini at Bertoni. Originally didn't have a windscreen. It was a design concept seen in 1969, and it kind of looked like a speedboat with wheels. So you can imagine this without the windscreen. It still had the rollover hoop, and that concept was presented as an Auto Bianchi originally, taking the transverse running gear, engine and gearbox, out of a Fiat 128 and shoving it in the back, still with the McPherson struts, thankfully without the steering. So it's McPherson strut at the front as well, and bingo, you've got yourself a mid-engine sports car. This is the car that very, very directly inspired the Toyota MR2 and other cars such as the MGF. Take your transverse power plant and move it amidships, so you get brilliant balance, brilliant handling. So at launch it used a 1300cc engine with a 4-speed gearbox. So you can see the gearbox just down there. Here's the engine, complete with its rubber belt driven overhead camshaft. That engine designed by Lopredi, who also worked at Ferrari, did amazing things with V12 engines. So there is an awful lot of Italian heritage in this tiny little sports car. Hugely popular in America. 2/3 of sales were over there, and people just lapped them up in the same way they'd lapped up Austin Healey Sprites, MG Midgets, Triumph Spitfires. During the 1970s, the late 70s, the car evolved, gaining a 5-speed gearbox, but also a 1500cc engine for just a little bit more get up and go. Look at the interior of this example. There is the rather distinctive gear lever on these earlier 5-speed cars. It's still a Fiat at this point, but by 1982 Fiat decided to kill off the design. They've been building them for 10 years, so it was launched in 1972, but Bertoni kept on building the cars. So previously to 82, Bertoni built the bodies, they were then shipped off to Fiat, and Fiat finished the job, fitted their mechanicals. From this point, Fiat actually gave up the rights. Bertoni took them on and built the cars completely. Some say they actually did a better job than Fiat. That is a point for debate. This is a late one. This is a grand finale, an F place, probably about 88, 89. And so last of the line, a slightly different interior here, cloth trim, a rather more elegant gear lever perhaps, but hugely practical cars because you've got a little boot area at the back. You've also got one at the front. I can't easily show you because this lot have all been camping, so all their X19s are full of tents and sleeping bags and things. I find it incredible they're able to cram so much into them, but they are. The roof panel you can stow away in the front. I'm hoping to do an actual test video today if we're lucky, so we'll have a look a bit more detail then. But yeah, it's a lovely mix of cars we've got here. So if we head over this way, they're just having a bit of an award ceremony at the moment. You see these cars with little dainty bumpers tend to be the 1300s, so the slightly smaller engine, and later they gain these federal bumpers to appease the American market, and they just found it easier to fit them to all of them. But yeah, quite sweet with these. And look at the interior of this one, absolutely splendid. That just makes me think of coaches of the 1970s. So this is the earlier 1300 engine in this one as well. Just a splendid colour. That is just screaming 1970s with this little duct here to channel some air in. Radiator is at the front, and in fact that is one of the weaknesses of these cars. The coolant pipes run down the middle of the cars. From what I've read, they're not actually accessible. So if you have to replace them, and they're steel, so they will rust, it's quite the job. You have to actually chop into the structure of the car. But yeah, fabulous little cars. Some of these are modified. You see some of them have had the bumpers removed altogether. Some, like this D-plate one here, have had the earlier 1300 bumpers fitted, even though this is a 1500. Little pop-up lights as well. And there's definitely some baby Ferrari going on here, isn't there? It's yeah, very, very nice. Another grand finale. I mean, I'm particularly drawn to this white one. It's such an unexciting colour for an X19. So, but it's the sort of car that gets left by the wayside because everyone wants the nicer colours. But splendid. It's got the window, the mirrors going through the windows, just like some Lancia models. Yeah, looks very elegant in white, I think, with a little white goods. But yeah, there's lots of modifications you can do. Apparently there's one, which sadly isn't here now, which has a V6 engine shoehorned into the back. That requires some clever engineering, because behind that seat you've got the fuel tank, behind this seat you've got the spare wheel. In terms of production numbers, it's around 165,000 were built. With 19,500 of those the later Bertone models. Production finally ended in 1989, having begun in 1972. So it's another of those classic long-lived designs. Ultimately feeling a bit long in the tooth by the time the Mazda MX-5 came out, I guess, but still a car that offers an awful lot of driving pleasure. That was a very pleasant little interlude. Now going to take this fairly early 1500 out for a test. It dates from 1982, 1983. It's still got the earlier 1500 interior. So been slightly later on, we got the enormous federal bumpers on, these gorgeous little three-spoke alloys. We've got the engine hidden under this lovely ribbed cover, and of course 5-speed. The joys of a 1500, you get the 5-speed gearbox. Let's pull some levers. We've got fuel filler is just there. Very Italian. The boot releases are here and you can lock them. So if you have to leave the car roofless somewhere, you can do that. So pull that one. That is the main boot, which is rather full of camping gear. But I'm told you can get a set of golf clubs in there. We'll try pulling the other one, which is this cover, which brings us to the engine. So that's how you get access to the engine. Got these little hooks that hold the thing up. There is a little fan here that operates and runs the fan to cool the carburetor down to stop your fuel boiling on hot days. So that's how you get access to that. We're actually going to take the roof off and leave the roof panel here, so so we can do this properly. So we have to go under here, release that clip, do the same on the other side, pop the sun visor, pop the clip, there we go, make sure that's actually released, and then we should be able to pull this back to remove the panel. Slightly difficult to do on your own, but there you go, we have managed it. So there we go, now we can see where the roof hooks in. Normally you would store it under the in the load area at the front. This one is full of luggage and camping gear, so we can't do that. We've had to hide it in front of one of these cars. We're sure it'll be fine, but you've got to have the roof off. But there we go, now we've got the full sports car experience going on. Let's jump aboard. I'm going to go side saddle just to give you a better view of this gorgeous sort of drilled aluminium steering wheel, lovely gauges, the speedometer and the rev counter. The rev counter goes the other way around. There's a bit of switch gear down here. Oh, look at that. Splendid. Not very much to play with really. I don't know what that switch does, or that one for that matter. We've got heater controls up here. Bertoni, obviously building these cars, even though this one is still Fiat badged. Typical Fiat stalks. Indicator there, light switch there. So you press a button for lights, I think. Yeah, there you go. So you turn the lights on and then you cycle through 3 different positions, I think. There we go. Now we've got the pop-up headlights. So a bit earlier than we normally would in a video. Let's have a look at those. They're very cute. Gotta love pop-up lights. Let's make the pop-up lights go away. So that second stalk will swap between your main beam and your dip beam. And I'll go back to side lights. And turn the lights off. Away they go. Here is the rather strange gear lever. I mean, that's a bit... I can see why they changed that. That just feels a bit awkward in the hand, to be honest. We've got oil pressure flashing because the engine's not running. It's fine, calm down. Little glove box area there, and the door catches are down here. That's the colour the carpet would have originally been in this car, and the seats wouldn't have been full leather. These have been retrimmed. But there's enough space for a hat, and that's about it. So spare wheel behind this seat, fuel tank behind that one. But I think that's probably enough. We should go for a drive. I'll get you set up. Right, big advantage of a mid-engine car. We've got a window right behind, so you're mounted to that. Let's start the engine. Sounds suitably rorty, I should think. Washers, there we go. Did a wiper test. It's not the best wiping performance. That's a bit of a 1960s pattern, I'd say. Unswept, triangle of doom. Could be better, but I don't think you buy a Fiat X19 for the wipers. No, you buy it for this. To be a bit careful with third gear. So many of them, either it's the synchromesh or the linkage, just makes third gear selection really difficult. Or the brakes need a good shove. Not the most reassuring, but a related car to this is the Lancia Beta Monte Carlo, which was also mid-engined, just slightly bigger. It had real issues with the front brakes locking up because there is so little weight. The weight's all over the rear wheels, really. But certainly this feels so nimble. We're on little 165 section tyres. Really decent torque as well. So you haven't got to stay on it all the time. Oh, this feels a lot of fun. I will say the center console is kind of very hard on my leg down here, but then I'm kind of using that as a brace. I don't know why this center console is quite so wide. Fuel gauge bouncing around all over the place, that's hilarious. I was just about to say I might slow down a bit, there might be something big around that corner, and there was. Oh yeah, it's a very Italian sounding soundtrack. Lampredi's 4-cylinder overhead cam engine, proper Italian engineering. Oh yeah, point and squirt, and it does squirt quite nicely. The rev counter does take some getting used to because it does go the wrong way. It will rev up to 7,000 RPM. The owner said I'm free to go to 6.5, so might have to find a slightly wider road for that. Because there's nothing exotic here, because it's all just off-the-shelf Fiat bits really. And that parts bin nature makes them a fair bit easier to look after than some cars. That was 5,000 revs. That was closing on 6. Yeah, we're doing 40 miles an hour. It feels like we're going 1,000,000 miles an hour, and we're just not. Let's go again. Oh, it's so supple. That's what surprises. You don't expect the suspension to offer anywhere near the degree of comfort it actually does. Once more, people, we are proving that when it comes to power, less is more. I think these are 85 brake horsepower, which by modern standards is nothing at all. Right, here we go then, the properly twisty bits. Oh, yay! It's very, very bumpy there, but still absorbs it. Oh! Oh, that was fun. I want to do that again and again, but we're going to go down one of my favourite roads in Wales. We're back on the Ellen Valley Mountain Road over to Aberystwyth. This is a great test for a car's suspension as well as handling. You've got to have soft suspension along here, or it just doesn't work. Because the road undulates so much. You have to watch these sheep, they're looking a little unpredictable. Yeah, this suspension is just completely unbothered. I can kind of feel it working away, but it's mostly just absorbing all this road has to offer, which, believe me, is plenty. Not going to be able to do a motorway test today because motorways are absolutely miles away, but we're doing 60 and at 3,000 revs, so it's in that regard it's much like a Fiat multiple of 1.6 petrol. Hubnut, always bringing you the comparisons you didn't know you needed. I just feel like I've got complete confidence in it, which is, you know, that can be famous last words, so let's not go too crazy, but it flows. This suspension is absolutely sublime, and that's coming from someone who owns Citroens. You know, I came along here in my 2CV earlier thinking there is no better car for this. I may have been wrong. The rack and pinion steering is just perfect. The weight is delightful. Yeah, there's a composure here you just don't expect from a small sports car. You wouldn't get this in an MG Midget. But I'm not even having to think about lifting over these bumps. It just absorbs them. I think it's got a far better ride than that Fiat 500. There is no better test of a car's suspension than this next bit of road. Oh, that is real performance. Bit of double declutching helps on third. Over the crest, down in the dip. Absolutely fine, all absorbed. Over the crest, whoa! Oh my gosh. Oh, this is absolutely incredible. My favourite driving road just got a little bit better. That's extraordinary. Apart from that third gear. Wow. that was even more exciting than I thought it would be. I have driven an X19 before, albeit a long time ago. I don't remember it being that much fun. I was probably driving it in a city, and that's always a mistake. You need to be out here where it's quiet and peaceful and you can actually get a decent bit of speed up. But that was just extraordinary. Yeah, I can't believe how much fun that is. But also, I can't believe how easy that car feels to live with. It doesn't feel exotic. It isn't crashy. It isn't uncomfortable. It's really nice driving position. There's even somewhere for your left sandal to go. Astonishing. So yeah, a great car. Far better than anyone might realistically expect, because people just go, it's a Fiat, it'll break down. Not necessarily so. That, my friends, is an awful lot of fun. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget you can head to the Hubnut store and buy lovely merchandise. We've now got these back in stock, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. I'm going to get off this bridge now before it collapses. Farewell.